Right friends, welcome back to comprehension and vocabulary. Today, as already announced, we are going to deliver the lecture on too cautious. This is with regard to the monetary policy of Reserve Bank of India recently, and on 18th April, that is Tuesday, we are going to deliberate on this glass is half empty. With regard to the economic situation in our country, this is Economic Times editorial of today. We are going to deliberate on 18th. Tomorrow you will have lecture on banking affairs, current affairs, banking awareness, current affairs tomorrow, and on Monday you will have English made simple, and Tuesday you will have this discussion, and Friday is holiday. So let us look at this. Too cautious. The meaning of this is Reserve Bank of India has gone in too much cautious way with regard to the recent monetary policy. And before going ahead, fiscal policy, all of you are familiar, difference between expenditure and revenue. Monetary policy, basically to control inflation, or you can say to strike a balance between inflation and growth, basically to preserve the intrinsic value of rupee. Then India has got some structural deficiencies in the system also, and monetary policy, reserve ratios, policy rates, open market operations we discussed several times, and here in comparison to repo rate, MSF and bank rate is high by 0.25%, reverse repo rate now is less by just 0.25%. So, there is a gap of just 0.25% only, and as per this monetary policy of 6th April, policy repo rate is unchanged at 6.25%, then reverse repo rate is 6%, right. CRR SLR remains unchanged. Remaining things I have given here, please go through them because we already discussed in the editorial discussion, and 4 key issues as flagged by Reserve Bank of India. The 4 key issues are bad loans are increasing, or you can say non-performing assets are increasing, that is the real worry. Second one is small savings schemes rates are to be reduced. When the small savings scheme rates are at around 8%, whereas bank fixed deposits rates are at 7%, then people may not come to the public sector banks or private sector banks. People may go and invest in this small savings schemes. So, this is the reason why the rates, or you can say small savings rates must be reduced. Third one is there will be more demand for capital. Government is required to do more to capitalize public sector banks so as to maintain capital adequacy ratio of 9% by March 31, 2019 as per the Basel norms. And Reserve Bank of India is also critical about loan waivers. Loan waivers is not the right solution, right. Let us go. Too cautious. So, the Reserve Bank of India's monetary policy is too cautious. It has gone with too much cautious approach. It is hard to fathom why the Reserve Bank of India has continued with its neutral stance despite growth concerns. It is hard to fathom. What is the meaning of fathom? To understand. It is hard to understand, to discover the meaning of something, to understand someone, why someone acts in such a way. Most appropriate meaning here is it is difficult to understand why Reserve Bank of India has taken too much cautious approach. It is very difficult to understand why Reserve Bank of India has acted in such a way, right. So, it is very difficult to understand why the Reserve Bank of India has continued with its neutral stance. Monetary policies, accommodative. Accommodative means the monetary policy which propels further growth. That means to give impetus to growth, interest rates will be reduced, that is accommodative monetary policy, or you can say dovish monetary policy, and a neutral monetary policy is it is unbiased. So, at present what is existing, the existing scenario is just right. The monetary policy is not able to propel further growth, or it is biased towards anything else. So, unbiased, or you can say the concept of just right scenario, the present situation is just right, we need not change anything. So, that is a neutral stance. So, RBI has taken the neutral stance despite growth concerns. Growth, it can reach up to 8% or so despite growth concerns. Gross value added is not even 7%, growth needs to be increased despite growth concerns. It is very difficult to understand why Reserve Bank of India has continued with its neutral stance, why it has not shifted to accommodative monetary policy so as to give boost to the growth, right. The Monetary Policy Committee, please do not forget two things. Monetary Policy Committee constitutes 6 members, 3 from Reserve Bank, 3 external members. At the same time, to Reserve Bank of India, the government has given the inflation target of 4% plus or minus 2%. So, this is the inflation target given. So, the Monetary Policy Committee has missed a chance to cut the repo rate. So, what the failure of Monetary Policy Committee, he is listing out. The Monetary Policy Committee has missed, has followed by V3, the past incidents, he is relating to the present. So, he used the Monetary Policy Committee has missed a chance to cut the repo rate. Repo rate is 6.25%, it failed to cut the repo rate because when repo rate is cut, it will propel growth, interest rates will be reduced and it will propel growth. Then bite the bullet on non-performing assets. What is the meaning of bite the bullet? Bite the bullet means there is some problem which is being continued. There is some problem continuing for some time and the decision may be unpleasant decision taken to solve the problem which is continuing for quite some time. Under those circumstances, you have to use bite the bullet. So, bite the bullet means decided to do something difficult or unpleasant that one has been putting off or hesitating to solve it. So, bite the bullet means to solve the difficult situation, to solve the unpleasant situation which is persisting for quite some time. To solve that problem, it is difficult situation, it is unpleasant situation, you may be required to take some hard decisions, people are not taking the decision. So, under those circumstances, we have to use bite the bullet. So, here why he used bite the bullet on non-performing assets, because non-performing assets are increasing. This is the problem which is persistent for quite some time. No one is taking hard decisions. So, Reserve Bank of India missed this chance also. So, it failed to bite the bullet on non-performing assets, or you can say to solve the problem of non-performing assets and give the economy the push it needed in the wake of demonetization. As a result of demonetization, it requires a boost. So, RBI failed in all the fronts. So, Monetary Policy Committee has missed the chance to cut the repo rate, bite the bullet on NPAs and give the economy the push it needed in the wake of demonetization. In the wake of means following something, especially as a consequence. Security was tightened after serial bomb blasts in Paris. In the wake of means subsequent to something, or you can say as a result of something. it remains apprehensive of inflation. It remains apprehensive of inflation. Still it is apprehensive about inflation, or you can say it is worried about inflation. Still it is worried about inflation. So, apprehensive means it is literally worried about inflation, while at the same time acknowledging that India's fundamentals as well as global confidence in its growth prospects remain sound. Here it has not reduced repo rate, it has not bite the bullet pertaining to non-performing assets, it remained apprehensive about inflation, it is worried about inflation, while at the same time it acknowledged that India's fundamentals, what is meant by fundamentals? Fundamentals means macroeconomic indicators. India's macroeconomic indicators are strong. You may have a doubt, what are macroeconomic indicators? Macroeconomic indicators are foreign exchange reserves, we got around $360 billion. Then this trade deficit, balance of payments, we are quite comfortable as far as current account deficit is concerned. Then balance of payments we have surplus. Then next important aspect is inflation, inflation is under control. Fiscal deficit is well within the target of 3.2%, or you can say 3.5% last year. Last year target was 3.5%, we are well within the target. This year the target is 3.2%. So, these are all the macroeconomic fundamentals. So, that is why in the passage acknowledging that India's fundamentals as well as global confidence in its growth prospects remain sound. It acknowledged that fundamentals are strong, global confidence is there. This is borne out by the surge in portfolio flows. Despite Fed hike in December, here Federal Reserve increased the interest rates. In spite of Federal Reserve increasing the interest rates, foreign portfolio investments flowed billions of dollars in February and March. So, here this is borne out, that means global confidence is borne out. In the previous sentence he told global confidence in its growth prospects remains sound. Global prospects are the global confidence on the Indian growth remained sound. So, how he is supporting this? He is supporting this, you see, this is borne out by the surge in portfolio flows. So, foreign portfolio investments are flowing with billions of dollars into Indian stock market. So, from this we can say that foreign investors' confidence is very high on our economy, right. So, here what is the meaning of borne out? Occurred because of, right. So, occurred because of, despite means not influenced by something. Here in spite of increase of this Federal Reserve rates, America's Federal Reserve increased the interest rates. So, even after increasing, not affected by the increase, that is the meaning of despite. So, not affected by the increase, the foreign portfolio flows are continuing. So, because of this, you can say that foreign investors' confidence on India is quite sound, and he is supporting other aspects. A benign current account deficit as 0.7% of GDP owing to a combination of moderate oil prices and a turnaround in exports and a fiscal deficit that is well within limits. So, I discussed a short while ago India's fundamentals. So, these are all fundamentals, you can say. Benign current account deficit. What is the meaning of benign? Benign current account deficit, that means pleasant and kind. So, benign current account deficit means current account deficit is not much, it is around 0.7%. Had it been 3% or 4%, you should not use benign. Benign means pleasant and kind. That means if something is somewhat is in favor of something, then only benign is to be used. If oil prices are around $50 to $55 per barrel, you can use benign. If it goes up to $80 per barrel, you cannot use benign. So, benign means pleasant and kind, which is supporting something. Then at the same time, O. What is the meaning of O? O means to be attributable. I owe my success to my maths teacher. That means I am attributing my success to my maths teacher. So, O, another meaning is indebted. I owe 10,000 rupees to State Bank of India. Kingfisher Airlines owes crores of rupees to Indian banks. Kingfisher Airlines owes crores of rupees to Indian banks. O means to be indebted for, and the other meaning is in fact attributable. I owe my success to the teachers in primary school. During my school days, the primary school teachers taught very well. So, now I owe my success to the primary school teachers. O means attributable, the meaning, right. Then turnaround. Turnaround means if the company is not doing well for the past quite some time, maybe 3 years, 4 years, and when you are putting it into the profitable track, that is turnaround. Please understand carefully, if the financial recovery of a company that has been performing poorly for a long time, take the case of Air India or BSNL. They are performing poorly for the past 5 to 10 years. If either Air India or BSNL, it is only assumption I am telling, I am not talking about real situation, but in general this is applicable to Air India and BSNL. Air India and BSNL are not performing for the past few years well. Now, if BSNL or Air India can be put into the profitable track, then that is turnaround, right. So, we learnt about various words here. Benign, please go back here. A benign current account deficit is 0.7%, which is quite acceptable. Then, owing to a combination of moderate oil prices, he is attributing the reason also. What is the reason for benign current account deficit? The reason for benign current account deficit is because of combination of moderate oil prices. Oil prices are moderate, that is why current account deficit is quite a pleasant situation of 0.7%. Owing to means it is attributing, the reason it is attributing, and a turnaround in exports. Turnaround in exports means why he used this word here? Because exports are not doing well for the past 2-3 years. So, now exports are performing better for the past 1 or 2 months. So, as exports are performing well after long time, he used turnaround, right. So, this benign current account deficit is because of combination of moderate oil prices and a turnaround in exports and a fiscal deficit that is well within the limits. I told you last year fiscal deficit was 3.5, this year the target as per the budget is 3.2%. Right friends, look at the next one. With the global headwinds evidently having receded since 2016. Here, what are the headwinds? Headwinds means the situation which is against something. If I am going on a bicycle, if the wind is opposite to me, I am going on a bicycle. If the wind is opposite to me, that is called headwind. Headwind means which opposes some movement, which opposes growth. Tailwinds means which pushes my bicycle. If I am riding a bicycle, if wind is from behind, I will be pushed. So, headwinds means something which hampers growth. Tailwinds means something which propels growth or which gives a boost to the growth. So, the global headwinds evidently having receded since 2016. So, the global factors which are opposing growth have receded, have reduced. So, now global headwinds is not the problem, and India's industry is in need of a boost. It requires a huge push. Boost means encouragement, or you can say increase, to improve something, to increase something, an encouragement. It is not explainable. Why RBI has taken this decision? Unable to be explained, inexplicable, right? So, here it is inexplicable, actually starting from the beginning, with the global headwinds entirely receded since 2016, and India's industry in need of a boost. India's industry requires a boost. Under these circumstances, it is not understandable that RBI should step back and leave the task of reviving the economy entirely to the banks. So, now RBI stepped back, it has not reduced the rates, and at the same time it left everything to revive the economy in the hands of banks, expecting it has not reduced the interest rates, it has not given the required boost, it is not understandable, it is inexplicable, and it left everything to the banks. It is thinking that banks will transmit the earlier cuts, monetary transmission. What is the meaning? When RBI reduced 175 basis points from 8% to 6.25% of repo rate, now the monetary transmission has not taken place properly. That means the banks have reduced the loan interest rates only around 0.75% or 1%. They have not reduced fully. So, now RBI is thinking banks will undertake further monetary transmission. That means banks will reduce further interest rates. At the same time, banks will utilize their deposits. They will leverage the surge in deposits. Leverage means using the situation by using the resources to its advantage. So, leverage the surge in deposits and it will propel growth. RBI assuming that, but it cannot happen. So, leverage means to use an available resource in order to achieve something better. Surge means a sudden increase, great or large increase suddenly, that is the surge. So, with investment trending at a 5-year low, credit growth in the economy, credit growth is at 5-year low. Job creation is languishing in the organized sector. Job creation is suffering. Here, fail to make progress is languish. Please understand, languish means growing weakly or failure to make progress, failure to become successful. Under those circumstances, you have to use languish. Under trial prisoners are languishing in the jails because of the delay in our judicial process. Here you see, with investment trending at a 5-year low, investment is at 5-year low. Investment trending means credit offtake. So, there is no demand for credit. Credit offtake is a 5-year low. Job creation is languishing in the organized sector. Job creation is languishing, it is not progressing, it is growing weakly. So, job creation is languishing in the organized sector and sections of the government conceding that Q3 GDP numbers may not have captured the impact of demonetization of the unorganized sector. So, Q3 GDP numbers appears to be satisfactory, but government itself stated, government itself conceded that Q3 GDP numbers have not captured the impact of demonetization effect on the unorganized sector. So, the impact of unorganized sector will come quite late, then GDP figures will be revised and they will be reduced, no doubt. The Monetary Policy Committee should have signaled growth as its priority. especially as bank credit growth is at a historic low of barely 5%. Bank credit growth is just 5%. The Monetary Policy Committee should have signaled growth as its priority. Please understand this, should have signaled. So, monetary policy is over. Now, this editorial was written next day. So, it is just expressing they could have done this way, that way. All damage is done. Now, the newspaper editorial just talks about it could have been better had they done like this. So, it is only assumption. RBI has done everything, nothing to do at this juncture. That is why should have signaled, should have, could have, when these are used, something has gone. Only the opinion we are expressing, it could have been better if RBI acted in such a way like that. So, here the MPC should have signaled growth as its priority, especially as bank credit growth is at a historic low of barely 5%. Barely means only just. If 35 is the pass mark, if you are getting 35, that is barely, please understand. If you are getting 35 only, barely passed. However, the policy seems singularly focused on mopping up excess liquidity. Mopping up excess liquidity. Mopping up means to clean up something or to remove the result of a problem. After demonetization, now excess liquidity is there with the banks, and now banks have to look at the issue of mopping up this excess liquidity. That means removing this excess liquidity, and RBI's monetary policy mostly focused on excess liquidity, removing the excess liquidity with the banks in the wake of demonetization. It has hiked the reverse repo rate from 5.75% to 6%. Because of reverse repo rate, if excess liquidity is there with the banks, banks will get some interest, more interest, that is the thing. Banks previously getting 5.75% when they are parking money with RBI, and now they will get 6%. Here it is focused only on mopping up, or you can say removing excess liquidity without really channelizing it into real economy. It has not taken any step to channelize it into real economy except a few things, except stipulating higher investment in real estate investment trusts and infrastructure investment trusts. Real estate investment trust, please look into this slide. Here these are all investors like you and me. We invest in some trust, and that trust will invest in this real estate properties, multi-story buildings, commercial complexes. So, this is real estate investment trust. If you look at infrastructure investment trust, here you and I are the customers and we invest in trust, and ultimately trust will invest in various highways, right. So, this is all about infrastructure investment trusts and real estate investment trusts, and mopping up means remove something as a result of a problem. So, if you go ahead, however, any increase in funds for these sectors would be subject to provisioning norms. So, when the funds are allocated to this real estate investment trusts or infrastructure investment trusts, provisioning is applicable. Provisioning means for any loan or some types of investments, they have to keep certain money aside, because to take care of the future risk element. Lower interest rates could have spurred productive forces, to encourage an activity. RBI has not reduced the interest rates, that is why he is using lower interest rates could have spurred. It has not done actually. So, it is only assumption. RBI has not reduced the interest rates. So, the editorial feels that if the RBI reduced the interest rates, it could have been better, right. So, here lower interest rates could have spurred productive forces by lowering the marginal cost of funds, while also improving demand for housing and consumer durables. Here, lower interest rates could have encouraged the activity of productive forces, and at the same time marginal cost of funds will be reduced, and at the same time demand for housing and consumer durables will be created. While savers certainly need protection, when interest rates are reducing, savers, I am depositing in the bank, I am the saver, I certainly need protection. Banks could have addressed that by improving returns for those who rely on interest income. Please understand, in this passage you are coming across several times could have, could have. So, could have means RBI has not done this, and the editorial feels that it could have been better had they done like this. They have not done it. So, it is only just expressing the opinion, it is not reality, please understand, right. So, now if the interest rates are reduced, then what will happen? It is talking about lowering the marginal cost of funds. Naturally, if the interest rates are reduced, this cost of funds will be reduced. The Monetary Policy Committee projects, this is all statistical, inflation rate of 4.5% for the first half of 17-18, 5% in the second half, while pegging GVA at 7.4% against 6.7% in 16-17. The threats to inflation in its view could arise from an indifferent monsoon. So, inflation may increase, the threats may come from indifferent monsoon, then 7th pay panel payouts and prices of services. However, you see the threats to inflation in its view could arise from an indifferent monsoon, 7th pay panel payouts and prices of services. However, it appears that the MPC, perhaps burdened by its inflation targeting mandate, is focused on prices at the expense of jobs and growth. So, RBI, finally the Monetary Policy Committee, perhaps burdened by its inflation targeting mandate. What is the meaning of this? Burdened by its inflation targeting mandate. The meaning is government has given the inflation targeting. So, the Monetary Policy Committee excessively has gone towards controlling inflation, or you can say controlling the prices at the expense of jobs and growth. So, jobs and growth were sacrificed because of excessive thrust on controlling the prices. So, this is the final thing what the article says. The RBI could also have been open. So, all these things are assumptions, nothing happened. Here RBI could have been open on how much of the demonetized currency actually returned by December 31. RBI is keeping it as secret. So, RBI could also have been open on how much of the demonetized currency actually returned. So, RBI could have done this, could have opened up how much came back to the banks. Equally odd is its silence on how the sudden drop in currency in circulation in public from rupees 16 lakh crore to about 12 lakh crore will be dealt with. Equally odd, odd means you see different from what is normal. Normally we call odd when something is different from normal. So, here different to what is usual or expected. So, here what is odd is, equally odd is, this sentence itself is odd. He is talking about, the editorial is talking about another odd sentence. Equally odd is its a silence on how the sudden drop in currency in circulation from public previously prior to demonetization, or you can say in the month of March 16, there was 16 lakh crores in circulation and now it is 12 lakh crores of rupees in circulation, and the RBI is silent on how they are going to deal this situation. Assuming that digital transactions will take time to bridge the gap, this shortfall may impact the economy. From 16 lakh crores of cash to 12 lakh crores of cash, this shortfall of 4 lakh crores of cash may impact the economy. The policy approach needs to be less neutral going forward. The policy approach needs to be less neutral going forward. At the first instance, I explained the difference between accommodative monetary policy and neutral monetary policy. So, the final word here is the policy approach needs to be less neutral. That means the policy should go towards accommodative monetary policy. That is the meaning of this. I discussed what is the difference between accommodative monetary policy and neutral monetary policy. So, finally, the editorial suggests the policy approach needs to be, this is suggestion, needs to be less neutral going forward. That means, from next monetary policy onwards, it should be less neutral or towards accommodative monetary policy, right. So, this is all about the conservative approach of Reserve Bank of India. It is too cautious, it has gone towards controlling inflation, it has not kept in mind the growth and jobs. So, this is what is as per this editorial. So, this article is the glass is half empty. This is Economic Times article of today. This entire article may not be possible to discuss. I will discuss part of the article on 18th April, Tuesday, and tomorrow let us discuss banking awareness, current affairs. Right, friends, with this let us conclude today's comprehension and vocabulary. We came to the 51st. So, have a nice day. Thank you.